Welcome to the Menopausal Women's Show for nutrition, health, and wellness. I am Michelle, and as a nutrition and wellness coach, I work with menopausal women to transform their hormone health and well-being to achieve the life they want to achieve. On this podcast, share research findings on hot topics, talk with other holistic healers, and share my own experiences to empower women to take steps toward better lifestyle. Now, this week I am super excited because we have Paige joining us. And Paige is a life coach and created Discovering Mum Coaching after going through a period in her life where she realised she had lost her sense of identity and purpose after becoming a new mum. From this, she acted and found her true purpose in helping women stepping into motherhood. Today, Paige will share with us her knowledge, experience, and tips on how we can embrace the changes and feelings towards our own body image that we experience in the menopause. I know from my own experience that my body has changed in shape, slight weight gain around the belly, which is all natural, yet for me it's so challenging to accept myself as I am and love myself. So without further ado, thank you so much, Paige. Let's welcome her to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's kick off. Could you explain and enlighten us with all, so I suppose the similarities, because you're two new mums and I'm at the other end of the scale of sort of like the menopausal age. What's the sort of similarities that we would experience with changes to our body image?
Yeah, absolutely. So as women, obviously our bodies are changing all of the time. Like our bodies are never really staying the same. And obviously a lot of that depends on like the season of life that we're in, and it's based on kind of how we nourish ourselves, our levels of exercise, or it can be things like pregnancy, hormone changes, and as you know, menopause. So essentially, at the end of the day, our bodies are adapting and reacting to what is going on internally, whether that is menopausal or pregnancy. So our bodies are always changing. That is the simple fact. And therefore, they're not how we've become accustomed to viewing them. And to some extent, in both scenarios, we can often feel like we have very little control over our bodies and what they look like. And so essentially the main similarity between the two is that we are experiencing change physically, and that is then what feeds our mindset around how we feel in our skin and in turn our confidence and our self-image.
I mean, that's amazing because actually, when you look at it, and what I do is it's two extremes, but actually, you're right. We're changing all the time, and I think for us women, we find it really challenging because we have got that hormonal changes all the time.
Yeah.
You know, some months could be better than others when you're in a cycle, and and others can be really, really worse. So I suppose really because having a baby obviously is a big, big thing.
Hmm.
And equally, I know that menopause hit me really, really hard.
Yeah.
Um, so what would be your recommendations for us as women to start fostering a positive body image belief? I mean, you see, like we live in a world of diet culture, supermodels, social media, doom scrolling. So I tend to find that's quite overwhelming. And that fuels then the anxiety, the overwhelm, the self-disgust because you're not looking like the person that's sticking out in the Vogue magazine.
Yeah.
And then here's so how do we start? Where do we start?
Well, I think just to speak to that, like you've said, around kind of magazines and social media, like the media in general and the press and all of this has not supported us over the generations in terms of learning how to love ourselves for who we are. Because, like I said, we're all unique. Our bodies are unique. No two bodies are the same. And we've grown up around these airbrushed magazines, fat shaming, like all of this, like you say, diet culture, where we live in a society where we're told that we just never look good enough. And it's therefore created this environment where we are essentially taught to compare ourselves. And that in itself is like the biggest downfall that women have been given, because instead of celebrating our bodies for all of the wonderful things that they do, we're taught that we should be on this diet, trying this new thing, fitting into this size clothes, like even size clothes themselves. And I'll go into this a little bit more. Like we're taught that these certain sizes are what are defined as skinny and what these ones are just are defined as bigger, and it's just a bloody number. And so I think that that social media piece is really, really big, because social media can be wonderful in a lot of ways, but it can also be very, very toxic and negative in a lot of other ways. And so I think, to speak to that, I did consciously go through my social media at one point, and I did start unfollowing all of those accounts that I felt like were kind of bringing that negative comparison energy to me. And I did start following more positive accounts that showed the real side of these things, the real postpartum, the real body changes, the angles that don't necessarily look as good. And that's just to show that women's bodies are real, and that these changes are real and they're normal, and we're not alone in how we feel, because that's such a big thing. We can sometimes feel like it's all happening to us. And yes, it is happening to us, and it is so difficult to navigate that change in our bodies, especially when we're not feeling comfortable in our skin. So to then be having that time that we do spend on social media feeling even worse, we can flip that on its head, and we can start exposing ourselves to more positive accounts, more positive feed. Even the Explore and Discover page, you'll find that as you start, obviously the algorithm listens to what you're looking at. So as it notices that you're looking at this different type of feed, it will adapt that as well. So yeah, definitely try and create a more positive environment online if you can, in terms of what you're seeing when you are doom scrolling, because let's be honest, we all do it. We all need that downtime in an evening where our brains are completely scattered from the day and we're tired, but we just want to have a flip through and see what people are up to. So yeah, I think from a social media perspective, that's huge. And to kind of continue what I was saying around that kind of every single body is different. So when we remind ourselves of that, we then find that the comparison does kind of start to thin out a little bit as well, because we realize that what makes us and our genes and our hormones and our bodies and our everything is never going to be the same as someone else's. So when we then compare that, it's not a fair playing field. It's not an equal playing field, because we're all made differently. And I think in terms of fostering that positive body image belief, one of the great things that I remind myself of, again, especially as a mum, is that our body is the vessel that houses our organs. Our body is the vessel that's keeping us alive, and it's enabling us to do all of the wonderful things that this life has to offer. And even taking it back to the little things like breathing, walking, playing with our children, our bodies are the enabler to live life fully and be adventurous and birth our children as well. And so by practicing that gratitude for all of the things that your body enables you to do, like even scaling it back to the tiny, tiny little things, like the amount of muscles it takes to even smile, like your body's doing all of that, and befriending your body. So when you can foster that mindset of gratitude towards your body, you can really start to begin to build a positive relationship with it, because you can see how it is trying to serve you, support you, and protect you in every single thing you're doing. So you then begin to see your body as like a friend, an ally, a companion, instead of an enemy. So I think
I
that's
think
really
that
important.
I think that's beautiful and really important. And I suppose from my perspective is how do we grow to get that message out? So, and it is something I've done with other podcasts, and we're doing a collection of them at the moment, of, well, actually everybody is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And there's genetics that are made up, and your lifestyle is all made up. And actually the key message is we can't compare, we
Yeah.
can't do that. And I suppose for me though, and certainly from my own personal journey, from what you've experienced with yourself and your clients, is like, how much does self-love play in navigating sort of like your physical and emotional changes? Because let's be honest, it doesn't matter whether or not you're in your teens
Mm-hmm.
or you're in your 80s, we all are having this physical and emotional changes. And I think that really is something that, certainly for menopausal women, is the emotional changes. It's the symptoms of, why do I all of a sudden have become so anxious? And then I used to be so confident, and how do you culture that then into self-love to help with the self-acceptance and body image?
Yeah. So self-love obviously plays a huge role, because loving who you are and accepting who you are it's everything, because the judgment falls away, then the comparison falls away, because you just love you. You just love who you are and what you stand for and all of that. And what you were saying about kind of like your teenage years, like you say, your postpartum body, like all of those things. And it's so often we can look back and, like you say, so I used to be so confident, like I used to look like this, or I used to feel this way. And I think the key there is just meet yourself where you're at. We have seasons of life, we have phases of life, and it's so easy to look back, but we're not back there. We're right here. And so just meet yourself where you're at on your journey and the season that you're in. And we can't control the past, but we can have an influence on the now. And so remembering that it's a journey that you're on and not like a final destination or a pit stop or anything like that. It's a journey. So every day is different. Every day looks different. Like our bodies, as we say, change over time. And so from a self-love perspective, like love yourself where you're at as well. Like you can look back at previous versions of you, previous phases and bodies, and you can love those versions and you can have an appreciation for those versions. And so do that in the present as well, because again, your body is still delivering for you. And to a certain extent, we can love, we can show love to our bodies through nourishment, through exercise, through dressing in a way that makes us feel good. And again, utilizing our bodies to do things that make us feel good, that then support our emotions as well. Because I think the more we look back and we dwell on that previous, we miss it and we mourn for it. But it's that reframe, it's that flip of the mindset to go, well, I'm in the now. So how can I choose joy and choose love right now to create excitement for moving forward? So, for example, in 6 months or a year's time, how do you want to feel? How do you want your body to look? And let that motivate you and fuel you into a future change. Instead of questioning this previous change that's got you to where you are now, look forward to a future change that you can then influence and be a part of, and love yourself along that journey. So whether, again, that's small sustainable habits that you want to make to your lifestyle, to your food, like I say, your diet. And I think as well, like as women, life can be a lot, our cycles can be a lot, and whether it's directly related to your body or not, I think taking time to do things that bring you joy is really important, because there is that connection to identity. We look at our bodies in the mirror, and whilst we know that so much more makes up our identity, we do associate a physical appearance to who we are.
Yeah.
And so by fostering a positive relationship with the other areas of our life as well, to feel like we're enjoying life and we're embracing the season we're in, can then really support in helping you from a body image perspective as well, because your overall energy is one of like a high vibration, it's a positive energy. And so it is a cycle, they do all influence themselves. So choosing to love all of the areas of your life as much as you can and fueling them with joy will naturally support you having a better relationship with your entire self-image, your entire identity, and your body being part of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's quite a key point, because obviously for me, I come from a traumatic experience in childhood and abuse, where actually I came from a place of, I just want somebody to love me, anybody to love me. And I abused that because I had abusive behavior, which then led to destructive behaviors. And then obviously I found my passion, or freedom, I should say, more through running. it just, gave me that endorphin and that release. And yeah, I got my PBs, etc., and it was great. And yet now I go, what's important to me, being at the age that I am? And actually, it's still, I look at my body now and I'm like, it's serving me, because actually, what I want to still be doing is I still want to be walking, running, yogaing when I'm 80, 90, or hopefully 100,
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, the odd treat's fine,
Mm.
but you go, it's the 80-20 rule. What do I need to do to serve my body? Which is why I talk about sleep routine, why I talk about, the self-care as well as the nutrition, and trying to just, I think now, knowing that my stress levels have been quite high, is going, well, actually, what's the joy? And you touched on that beautifully, to say that actually it's the joy. Your body, bring the joy to your life and your body will serve you. And as I've experienced, and I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I actually think your body talks to you.
Mm.
So like, just the other day, actually, I was just like really out of sorts, and I was like, I really just fancy that one shortbread biscuit, which normally I wouldn't do. And I had it, and my body went, yeah, that's fine, thank you. But I
Yeah.
didn't eat the rest of the packet because I just wanted that one. And it just needed that, that nourishment for that side of things. But then your body does talk to you, it tells you when you're tired and you need to rest.
Yeah.
So you've been through this experience.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of like strategies could you share with us all? Because as we said, we're all exactly the same, just different parts of our journey,
Yeah.
to develop that greater self-acceptance and confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, to touch on what you just said there, the mind, body, and soul are all connected. They really are. Like, our bodies, our minds, and our souls are trying to communicate with us all of the time, to share our needs, to share what it, like you say, to tell us when we're tired, to tell us our emotions, especially, are one of the biggest communicators. And that's why sometimes like that meditation piece is huge. And I know we'll go on to that as well. But yeah, that full circle connection is massive. And it is something that, once you understand that and get into that connection space, you'll feel so much more in tune with what your body needs. So from a greater kind of self-acceptance and confidence perspective, like I said, accepting that you and your body are on a journey is huge. So as I said, this isn't your final destination. It's progress and it's a process. And over time, you'll find what works for you as well. So that balance that puts you in a place where you're comfortable in your skin, by having that mentality, and you will find yourself waking up less and groaning when you look in the mirror, because you're exercising that patience for your journey, that patience, that progress over time, and that commitment, and you're putting in the effort to get to where you want to be. And I think celebrating yourself for that as well, because you're consciously putting in that effort, is really, really, it's a huge thing, and it takes a lot of effort, and you're doing it, you're doing the work. So celebrating yourself for having patience in that process is a great one. And a really, really big one for me, and again, I don't usually like to talk about this too much, but it was a massive shift for me in self-confidence, and that was dressing to suit my body type. So postpartum, I was 2 stone heavier, and I was really, really struggling with clothes. I felt crap in everything, and I would honestly shame my body for not fitting in the clothes and not looking how I wanted to look in those clothes. Until one day I got fed up of trying to fit into these old clothes that were no longer serving how I wanted to look and feel. And I just took the time. I just got in the car and I drove to the clothing store, and I picked up a handful of jeans, all different sizes, because I had no idea what size I was going to be, what style was going to look good, anything. And I took as many as I was allowed into the shop. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to buy what I feel good in. And realizing that, again, that size doesn't define me. at the end of the day, my mission here is to feel good in my body, to feel good in my skin, and to feel good in my clothes. And honestly, when I put on that pair of jeans, I just, you have that moment in the fitting room where you're like, yes,
Yes.
I love this. I love it. And funnily enough, the jeans were on sale. They were reduced from like £40 down to 14. And
Oh.
I was like, the universe knew I needed this pair of jeans in my life. It put them in my hand. It made me bring them to the fitting room. And I left feeling amazing because I was just like, I felt in that moment in a body that was completely different to what I'd ever known my body to look and feel like, felt good. I felt confident in that moment. And I just thought, what was I doing trying to fit into all of those clothes? But again, from like a wastage perspective and all of that, I was just really trying and I kept thinking like, it's fine, I'll fit back into it, blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't giving my body the grace and the space and the patience that it needed. So if you're not feeling good in your clothes, take the time to just go and yeah, just it's like stepping into that new version of you. Again, it's that identity piece.
Mm.
Go and have that experience of finding something that makes you feel good. And again, it can be as simple as a pair of jeans, it can be a whole new wardrobe, whatever you feel like. Just feel good and get excited about feeling good in your clothes again because you deserve it. You really, really do. And that's the other thing is that it's this self-worth piece. So reminding yourself that you're worthy of feeling good. You deserve to feel good and making that a priority. So when you kind of adopt that mentality of I am worth this, then you feel so much more empowered to take that action for yourself. Because again, as women, as mums, even just as humans in general, we're so like conditioned to putting other people first, or
Yeah.
like again, we love buying for our kids instead of ourselves. And we always think, oh, but we need to get this more, or this is going towards this month. If it's going to make you feel good, make the space and the time for it because you will never ever regret feeling good. You'll never ever wish you didn't do it. So remind yourself consistently that you're worthy of feeling good. And the more you do that and remind yourself and say it out loud, scream it from the rooftops, you will rewire that neural pathway in your mind and you will then consistently be able to embody that feeling of self-worth more and more. But you will need to remind yourself at times because, again, we fall into old habits and things. But yeah, just remind yourself, I'm worthy of this. Like, you're a human just as everybody else. We all come into this world the same way. You are just as worthy as every other human on this planet of feeling good in yourself and feeling good in your body in every season that you're in. So yeah, that's a big one for me when it came to confidence.
I think that I mean that's key actually because again the amount of my clients that have come and said but I'm going to this wedding and I've brought the dress and it's like two sizes too small and you go but your body shape's changed
Mhm.
and as you say and this is I think the big mindset the mind shift is that your body shape will change but there are habits that you can do to influence how much that changes, but know that you're changing.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm prime, put my hand up of, yeah, right, okay, let's go shopping. And I have to go out with somebody else because I will like literally go, yeah, I'm going shopping. And I get the whole list from the rest of the family. And if I'm lucky, I might have bought myself a cappuccino.
Yeah.
Um, so and I do feel that it's important because actually yeah it gives you that inner confidence you're looking great and then you're sort of like you're swaggering along and you're radiating that sort of like energy and raising the vibration which then makes the difference not just to you but probably to the other people that you don't even realize you're impacting on that day.
100%.
So we've talked about like really acceptance that we are on this journey. And I
Yeah.
think, that's the key message here. Now, as part of the menopausal journey, there's lots of emotions that go on. There's lots of things that, we've been in the role, and when I say role, many of us women play different roles. So we're a wife or a partner, we're a mother, and then we're the person at work, and then we're the person that goes to the gym, or we're a person that, you might see in the coffee shop for the last 10 years that you've been going to. So we have all these different roles. And we then go, and I say, but like meditation and mindfulness is one of the things that I've really struggled with, because when you say mindfulness, everybody thinks that you've got to sit there meditating like for 20 odd minutes a day to 2 hours, and you've got to allow yourself to have no thoughts. And I'm just like, well, that's not realistic, is it?
No.
And so I then kind of flip it around, because obviously there's lots of stuff now that can help people with mindfulness. What sort of like have you found in mindfulness practices that help with your positive body image? And that's not just sitting cross-legged for 2 hours going, I've got a great body.
Yeah, exactly. Like affirmations, again, they're wonderful, but yeah, again, there's a lot of other components that come into it. And meditation for me has been huge on my journey. Just, I think it kind of ties in a lot with just that general slowing down as well. Like you say, we play so many roles. The mental load can be huge, and we can just feel like we're on that treadmill of life. And meditation and mindfulness does really give us that opportunity to slow down and to just check in. Because, like I say, our mind, body, and soul are so connected. And for me, meditation, like you say, it's not about kind of sitting cross-legged for 2 hours and having no thoughts. And for a long time, that is what I thought it was. But for me, when I stepped back into meditation, I learned again that the brain is a muscle, and the brain needs training and exercising. That muscle needs exercising like every other muscle does. And so the more you do it, yes, the longer you can potentially meditate for. But for me, it was less about, like you say, having no thoughts, but more about observing the thoughts that were actually in my mind. So when I would sit down to meditate, yes, everything would come forward, like the school trip coming up, what to have for dinner, the food shop needs doing, all of this stuff. But when you kind of learn how to then navigate those thoughts, you kind of open up your wider subconscious then to let the messages and the downloads that you need to hear come through, because we're in this kind of energy. I think it's the beta state when we're in the day, and that's the decision making. But then when we sit to meditate, we drop into I believe it's a delta state, which is that close to sleep. And so like our body goes into like a different state, goes into a different energy, a different frequency. And that's again where we get that opportunity to just observe what's coming up. It's that check-in, it's that dropping into your body and just opening up your mind. So yeah, for me, it just started off with like 5 minutes a day of a guided meditation to start with, because I felt like just sitting there was quite overwhelming.
Was that specific to like your body image? Like,
Yeah, it was loads of stuff, even just kind of just generally feeling good, adopting a positive mentality, because sometimes when you just choose, I'm going to be proactively positive today. And it's not this kind of toxic positivity, but it's just setting that intention to choose to see things through the lens of love, the lens of positivity, the lens of joy, instead of fear, judgment, grumpiness, which we all are. But again, that ties into like the sleep and the nourishment and the food. But guided meditations are really, really powerful for taking your mind on a journey to places that enable you to just feel better generally. And so when it came to being mindful, again, it came into place of being mindful of what I ate, mindful of how I thought, and mindful of how I moved my body. And it enables you to, again, increase that energetic frequency and adopt levels of patience, calm, and rationale that we don't always have access to. So 5 minutes meditation for me in the morning allowed me to just settle my energy, have a bit of time for me, have a bit of peace and quiet, which again, as a mum, can be quite a rare thing. so that then when I come out of that and I go back into busy life, I'm just calmer. I'm just more settled. I've had that moment of peace and clarity. And it's just really supported me then in how I show up. Again, how I talk to myself, how I approach picking an outfit, how I approach getting ready, doing my makeup, doing my hair, because I've had that moment to sit and reflect or be guided to a positive place or set an intention or even just receive reminders through these guided meditations that could just be as simple as going, oh yeah, that is a good way to see things, or oh yeah, that is how I want to show up today, or yes, that is how I want to feel. And so again, it just kind of gives you that motivation and that reminder, just having that in your ear for 5 minutes in the morning, and that 5 minutes of peace. And going back to, again, body image, it gives you different perspectives. Mindfulness and slowing down and being able to choose differently gives you different perspectives on thoughts and, again, your mindset. And it just is so powerful as like a reflection tool. So,
I was, so for me, like, obviously, I had, and I'm reforming, and I say I'm reforming because I don't think any of us are reformed completely of destructive behaviors.
mhm,
And the one thing, because obviously for me, menopause just hit me out of the blue because I completely ignored like the whole perimenopause, or I was way too busy for that side of things. And then when I started to have the changes, I kind of like started the meditation. But the question that always came was, you've got to be very aware of your thoughts, but how you are talking
yeah.
to, and think about what would you do if your best friend was there.
Mhm.
So, and that really then changed my mindset and started making me more conscious. And I suppose that leads me into my next question is, how can women challenge and overcome that negative self-talk? Because as a new mum, I know that when I had my children and they're teenagers, I was like, I just don't want to be a fat mum. I don't want to be one of those, ones that can't run around, and I'm too, like, I want to be playing football with them.
Yeah.
And then if I wasn't out doing the exercise, I'd cuss myself because, I've got, literally mine's got 18 and a half months between them. So I'd have, one baby under one arm with a bottle and the other one on the hip with trying to spoon feed. And then you just go, oh my God, and then you've let yourself down, and then you're going to just go, it scales. And it's the same even in menopause, that I just go, God, I haven't done my routine. I haven't had time for myself. I've had to adapt to other stuff. And then I go, well, you're just a waste of space. You're falling off bandwagons. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Give up.
Yeah. So I think a big one for this is, like you say, that awareness piece. So you've become aware of how you're talking to yourself and that you're talking to yourself in a negative way. And for me, the first step was consciously forgiving myself for that. So when I would catch myself in that negative narrative, that negative story, I would stop myself and I would go, I forgive myself for everything I've just said, with a little bit of compassion, because again, we're all allowed to feel our feelings, have those emotions. They're going to come up, they're going to be there. And yeah, we just need to vent. We need to rant sometimes. And that's completely normal and completely human. But then when you're on the other side of that, just consciously forgive yourself. I forgive myself for that because I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to speak to myself that way. I choose to love myself. And then comes the reframe. So, for example, if it's all the things you didn't do today, okay, but I've still done my best. I've still served other people in other ways. There's still positives to take from this. And then tomorrow's a new day. So again, it's that flip, to choose to see it differently and choose to see, yes, I didn't do X, Y, and Z, but I did do this, 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 and this.
Mm.
It's not like you've then potentially chosen or just not done it. Like in your example, you didn't just not do it, you were serving elsewhere, you were supporting elsewhere, and the people you were supporting, spaces you were supporting will be grateful for that.
Mm.
And so there's positives. So forgive yourself for the negative self-talk and reframe it. So how in what you've just said can you word them into something positive?
Mm.
Because, for example, you're so consistent with your daily routine, like your nourishment, all of those things. And so what are the positive statements that you can tell yourself, even outside of just this day? So you, again, you can pick up on little things from the day that you can positively say to yourself, or you can say, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm actually really good at this. I'm actually really consistent with that. I'm actually proud of myself for doing this. So yes, I've had a bad day today, but this one bad day or this one bad habit or this one negative piece of self-talk does not destroy all of the progress that I've made. I get to choose to see it differently, and I get to choose a bigger picture, and I get to start again tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And with somebody else that, and I can't remember who said, give yourself grace of beating yourself up for about a minute. Okay, so get it out of your system. Um, then reframe it as you say, go, okay, I'm gonna choose again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna choose again. I'm gonna forgive myself for that, and then find what you've done. And this is where I think certainly journaling, and I did a podcast on journaling when I said I reread some of the ones, and it was just basically a rant of how crap my day was. Where now it's like, okay, how am I feeling? And then what have I achieved today? And then my mantra now is, what one baby step can I do to be 1% better tomorrow? And then it's when you go through journeys, it's not just, oh, I'm going to do this one habit and I'm going to stay on this like high vibration.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us as women, and the hormones that come in and the moon cycles, because once you stop menstruating, you tend to find there's a lot of research saying you follow a moon cycle.
Yeah.
That actually you will fall back down and then you'll bounce back up. And it's a bit like, you'll have good days and bad days, but knowing that that's the way life goes. It's up and down, like the sea.
Yep.
It's never really calm.
Yeah.
And it's taking that, obviously consciously knowing that, and perhaps actually in everything we've talked about, first of all, none of us are the same.
Yep.
It would be the one message. The second message is that actually the mindfulness, just focus on being the present, but know that you are going up and down all the time, just like your hormones, and your blood flowing through your body will go up at one bit and down at another, and it is circles. And just perhaps doing that to then go, right, I need to be able to serve that and allow that flow rather than trying to build a dam.
Yeah, from the meditation perspective as well, going back to what you're saying about emotions, it's a perfect opportunity to just check in with you for 5 minutes, because so much of our behavior as well, and again, our thoughts, our words, all of that comes from emotion. And sometimes I'll say to myself, why do I feel like this today? And when you actually check in with yourself, it gives you a bit of space to understand what emotions are coming up for you and potentially where they're coming from. So again, that's where meditation is also really helpful, because it's that 5 minutes with you. So much time with everybody else, serving everybody else, that's your time for you to just ask yourself how you're feeling. And when you understand how you're feeling, ask that part of you what it needs and just see what comes up for you. Because it would, even just you having that clarity on, I feel like X and it's because of Y, and this is what I think I need to overcome that, will just give you so much more peace of mind, because you are feeling connected to yourself, connected to your emotions, and why you're showing up in the way that you are.
That's beautiful. So we've talked a lot about, well, there are certain strategies. So it's mainly around mindset. So your body is changing. So embrace that journey, accept that journey. You know, dress to make you feel good rather than dressing trying to please some sort of like model that you aspire to. And we've talked about meditation in terms of just taking that time to see how you're feeling, listening to how you're talking to yourself. How, I suppose, how can we now, I suppose, really collectively, as we're both coaches and our purpose is to help others to transform their life, what would you say from your perspective and your journey to help reframe the view as menopause is a time of empowerment and self-discovery rather than menopause is like the end of the world?
Yeah. It's a new chapter of your life. It's a new season. And yes, it is one that is really not easy to navigate. Like you say, there's changes in all the capacities. Again, the same as pregnancy, postpartum, like we're going through a lot. We are. And in a way, it is kind of a form of a rebirth because your body is going through so much change and so much transformation that, again, choosing to see it as a positive transformation is a form of empowerment, because it's kind of that embracing the unknown a little bit and befriending the unknown, because you may not know how you're going to feel as you go through the menopause or how you're going to feel after it, but that can be seen as an exciting thing. Because there's so much potential in that. There is infinite possibilities in that. And as I say, it's a new chapter. It's a new version of you that you're going into in the menopause and post-menopause. So get excited about the version of you that you're going to be and that you get to choose to be. So have a think about that and even have a journal on it. What type of person do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the menopause? And also, can I just say as well, menopause is hard. It is. Pregnancy is hard. Postpartum is hard.
There's only a little bit in between that may be slightly easy, but it just depends.
Yeah, definitely. And so celebrate yourself for all of it that you're dealing with, all of it that you're processing, all of it that you're managing, all of the changes you're making, the adaptations, the fact that you're even listening to this podcast shows that you are consciously taking steps to learn about the menopause, learn about ways that you can feel better, learn about ways that you can nourish your body better, adapt to the changes, adapt to the hormones, and show up as the best version of you. So just celebrate yourself for that for a start. Like, it's hard. Feel empowered to adopt those changes because you're already doing it just by being here. And yeah, I think it's just consciously taking that time to celebrate all of the progress you're already making just by getting through those things. Like I said, just like the changes are so vast. And like you say, it's hormonal, emotional, physical, mental, like it's a lot, and you're doing really, really bloody well. So I think just having that compassion for yourself as a start, and even if you kind of flip that gratitude on its head a little bit, and instead of practicing gratitude, practice what you're doing well. What have you done well today? What have you overcome? What challenges have you moved through? Like, yeah. So I think that's a big thing, like empowering yourself and reminding yourself that you're taking your power back right now as you navigate this stage of your life, because you're doing a bloody hard thing. And sometimes we forget that we can do the hard things, but right now we don't have a lot of control over the hard things that are showing up in our bodies and in our minds and in our emotions, but you're doing it anyway. And you're doing it potentially while raising a family, or potentially while you're working full time, or doing God knows what else. So celebrate your damn self for a start. And again, that self-discovery piece, self-discovery should be exciting. We shed old versions of ourselves throughout the years, throughout the decades, again, throughout different seasons of our life. We never stay the same person. And so again, just get excited about that version of you that's going to show up through this time and that's going to show up as you get out of the other side. And ask yourself what you want her to look like, how you want her to be, how does she want to feel, and see it as an exciting opportunity. An adventure might be a bit of a stretch, but it is, you're navigating something new, and it can have wonderful parts to it in amongst the challenges. And so, yeah, just kind of befriend the unknown a little bit and get excited about what is on the other side of that. And yeah, just know that you're taking your power back, you're navigating the really, really hard things. And so, yeah, just celebrate your journey, celebrate you, and yeah, celebrate this version of you that you're stepping into as you go through one of the biggest rebirths and transformations of your life.
Beautiful. I mean, I'm gonna have to ask this question because I was actually going, is there anything that you haven't shared, like that you really have a burning desire to share with us and as listeners? But just listening to you then, I go, what would you tell your younger self now?
Oh,
Um, and that, because I look at it and I go, you're talking about we change all the time. But what would you tell your younger self now? You're a new mum.
mm,
Okay, I'm an old mum. But what would you tell your younger self now? Because we're at two different streams.
yeah. Do you know what? One of the biggest things I think I've learned, and I never ever thought I'd say this, because when I turned 21, which was quite a while ago now, I didn't enjoy that I was getting older. And that's crazy to feel like that at 21. And it became a bit of a running joke between me and my friends. So in every birthday card, it was 21 and 12 months, 12 at 21 and 24 months, because I refuse, I said, oh, I'm going to stay 21 forever. But as I've got older, especially going into my 30s, I love getting older because I'm more me than I've ever been. I'm wiser than I've ever been. And I just look forward to it seems to get better with age. And in I know that challenges are at almost every stage of life, but I thought I knew everything when I was a teenager. I thought I knew everything in my 20s, and I probably think I know everything now. But when I then hit my 40s, again, I'll be like, oh, she thought she knew everything. And yeah, so I look forward to getting older, and aging's not a bad thing. It's just a different season of life with different positives, different challenges, different experiences. But I'm more me than I've ever been, and I become more me the older that I get.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I would tell my younger self, like, don't be afraid of getting older because it only gets better.
And I think that's really important because actually, like I wanted to save the world. I was going to change the world in my 20s, and I was quite egoistic and arrogant, to be quite honest with you, and probably rude. And now I just go, do you know something? It is really exciting because I get to try new things. My body's changed, so I can't go, partying, definitely can't go out partying, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. Um, and I just go, but I can change and experience different things, like try different activities, find out what it's like. And actually, every day is a learning day
Yeah.
for me. And it's not just a learning day about myself, it's learning about other people.
Mm.
And, you know, even to like my kids are starting that whole teenage and, eventually in another 10 years time will be sort of like in their 20s,
Yeah.
and you just kind of go, oh well, like, first of all, well done for me for keeping them alive so long, but equally I just go, yeah, kindness to yourself, kindness to others. If you look at all of our world leaders, the inspirational people, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, you just kind of go, it's just kindness. It's kindness and being open
Mm.
to embrace whatever life throws at you
Yeah.
and having that compassion. And whether or not you're a new mum, and that in itself, you've got the extra, I can remember the boobs and, you know, the pain with that, and then the sleepless nights. And then once you get them into a sleep routine, you go, great, fantastic. And then as soon as they're poorly, it's like, oh my God, it hits you again. But even to, like, you know, as you get into the menopause, you've got night sweats, and, you know, how do you get through that side of things, or challenges when you actually are too anxious and overwhelmed that you don't know what to do, that it's navigating that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'd probably tell my younger self now, just chill.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't take life so seriously.
Seriously,
Yeah.
it's not major,
Yeah.
okay? It really isn't major, because actually as you go through,
Mm.
you'll work it out, but you need
Yeah.
to be open to work it out.
And I think a big thing like that you've just touched on there as well is like I was reflecting on my younger self, and everything used to feel like the end of the world. It used to feel like that guy I liked, he would be my husband, for example, and that friendship group, they would be my friends for life, for example. But again, as you kind of go through life, you grow, you outgrow some, and again, you find your tribe as you get older, and again based on the seasons of your life, and some people will grow with you and some people won't. But I think also being surrounded by people that are in the phase of life that you're also in is really empowering, because again you remind yourself that you're not on your own and that other people are going through it and can support you. So
Mm.
opening yourself up to that support and that community, I think is a wonderful thing. And so yeah, younger self, everything isn't the end of the world. Things can change and change is good. And you will find the people that love and accept you as you get older and as you go through the seasons of your life, and they'll help you and support you, and you for them as well. So yeah, gosh, could I do a whole episode on my younger self, I think.
Yeah, I think my final message just before we wrap up is probably actually, as part of body image, is that we're all unique.
Yeah.
And actually the self-acceptance starts with us, and actually just to give yourself a break. And that's what I think really has come out and today. So thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm really grateful, and it's been valuable. You've given us some insights and some tips, and I'm very grateful for, and I'm sure my listeners are too. So my friends, if you would like to chat with me about your unique menopause experience, get some advice and explore what it would be like to work with me, then please book a free, no obligation discovery call and come away with a clear plan to start your journey. If you know somebody that is a new mum, and that could be somebody within your own family unit or a friend, and feel that they could benefit from Paige's experience and her, then please, I will put Paige's contact details in the show notes. But do reach out to discoverymumcoaching.com to speak with Paige, because say we all are continually. And finally, if you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it. Share with others. Please leave me your review. Do hop on over to the YouTube channel if you would like to add any comments, and until next time, take care and look after yourself.